I'm Tom Santucci. I work at IDCA as the Chief Government Officer. But previous to this, I spent 28 years in the federal government and working in all aspects of data centers and IT. Having worked in the federal government for decades, I was able to influence IT modernization policy concerning cloud, data centers, and workforce. I was struck by IDCA's truly impressive and comprehensive holistic approach. And after my government service, I had the freedom to choose my next endeavor. Making my decision to join IDCA was clear and without hesitation.
My name is John Sullivan. My background is primarily the U.S. federal government. I was in an environmental protection agency where I worked with a lot of state agencies and traveled around the country learning how to integrate their information systems. From there, I worked with OMB during the Bush administration when the Bush administration was really focused on enterprise architecture and doing collaborative architectural planning across agencies, as well as the verticals into, such as I was working in with environmental. And that led me into the General Services Administration, where within the Office of Government-Wide Policy, as OMB would implement new policy, we were the ones who would work with the federal agencies to help them implement all the federal policies, from identity management, from digital accessibility, from data center and cloud implementation. We were the top level domain for .gov, and so we managed the .gov environment for federal, state, local, and tribal.
I think we can make government more efficient by taking a holistic approach of seeing what each of the agencies need in terms of resources and how we can leverage the existing resources, not to buy new or just replace what's there. We don't want to just simply blindly move to the cloud, because all you're doing is transferring your risk to another environment, and your attackers will know what your vulnerabilities are before you do. You want to be able to audit and certify your environments to make sure they're meeting some standards. And that's where IDCA really comes into play, where we take an objective approach to that and put dollar values on these outages so you can make a business decision, not an IT or local management decision. The exact placement of federal IT varies in different agencies depending on their mission. Cloud is certainly an option, and it may be the best option. You have to carefully outweigh your options and bring it down to cost and mission. Where one agency may be perfectly comfortable working in a cloud environment, like some agencies are worldwide, and cloud is the best option for them because it's as close as it can be to the users. Other options are on-prem, where most of the data doesn't leave the building. And so latency is a huge issue, and on-prem seems like it's the best choice. But managing your data, your IT infrastructure is crucial, whether it be in the cloud, whether it be hybrid, colo. You really need to know what your costs are, and at the application level. And being able to understand what the shared services are and how much those shared services cost, so you can include that in the total cost of ownership for applications. And until we get to the application layer, we really don't have much to say about anything in terms of what the total cost of ownership is.
Each individual government service actually is planned well, but it's planned for a small niche. So take, for example, digital signatures. In an old day, a single pen would sign whatever piece of paper you put in front of it. Everyone knew to put their signature and a date next to it. Today we went off and developed, and we probably have 50, 70 different mechanisms for digital signatures. So have we made the process easier?
The federal government really started the push in 2016 under the Obama administration, under Cloud First. And agencies interpreted that as cloud only. So they did a big push to the cloud, and they had varying success because they didn't really understand what they were getting themselves into. From a CapEx to an OpEx model was very difficult for agencies to comprehend. The contracting officers were ill-fitted to suit that need. So we really didn't know what we were asking for or how much it was going to cost us at the end of the day. And the egress charges just blew us out of the water, and a lot of them had to repatriate back to their on-prem data centers. And then 2019, the Trump administration came with Cloud Smart, and we took a holistic approach. And the one thing that people forget about Cloud Smart is it's all application driven. You need to look at your application to rationalize it so you don't have redundancies, and understanding each of your applications and which ones are best suited to be in the cloud or replaced with some SaaS solutions out there. And then you take a look at your infrastructure after it's all said and done to reevaluate what you're doing in terms of your on-prem data centers.
Well, when you look at digital services and digital government services, first of all, they need to be designed and developed by the customer base, and that often is neglected. And so if you know you're going to have to reach out to all kinds of people, then you need to include all kinds of people on your development teams. And so that's a very big piece of being able to make things that actually work. There's plenty of efforts for go it alone. And the question is, what's the best way to come together and collaborate, say, across government agencies, but also vertically? So in this country, federal government, state government, local, county, as well as native sovereign nations, which are tribal governments in this country. So what's the best configuration to actually put together a digital platform that the government services, which are often delivered by multiple levels of agencies, can actually work for the customer?
IDCA is at the forefront of today's digital transformation, acknowledging data centers as the foundation of digitalization. Globally recognized for its thought leadership and expertise, IDCA collaborates directly with high-level government bodies, and together strategically develop resilient digital infrastructure customized to meet specific needs and objectives of countries and communities around the world. The problem the federal government has really had is defining what a data center is, but we know it when we see it. And we need to help agencies and guide agencies on really what they want and what they need so they don't upscale too much or downscale too much. And one of the biggest flaws I've seen in the government is utilization. They're either overutilized or underutilized. And I really think in getting those resources shared amongst agencies is the most valuable thing we can do as a federal government.
The assessments bring to the attention of the senior leadership where the problem areas are, that they otherwise, no one's going to sit down and read a 60-page assessment report. So there has to be the piece that goes along with, so whether that's what we tried to do in government with the President's Management Scorecard, which was a lot of green, yellow, red scoring of processes, and that kind of matured into KPI tracking. But it still comes down to having measures that are measurable so they can be managed and not just gamed. Because everyone wants to look good, and whatever the scorecard is de jour, they're going to make it so they look nice and green and not red. But sometimes that truthful assessment and going in there with an honest assessment to the right people, so tell them this is the area that I need to fix.
If I can talk openly about the challenges in the federal government, is there's different colors of money and fiefdoms within the government. Everyone likes to protect their little service. Data centers seem to have fallen through the cracks between IT and facilities. If we took that same approach over the next 5 years, we will completely miss the mark and spend a lot of money and get very little value. In the federal government, I believe we have anywhere between 2,000 and 10,000 data centers. And they all have specific purposes based on a mission. And we don't question what the applications are, We just want to look at the environments that they're sitting in.
Contract may have been bid by the best pros in the world, but that's not who you get. And it's always annoying to have to train your professional contractors that come on board. On-the-job training, and you're spending money paying to train these people. And they too, by the time they get trained, often walk out the door. So that's why if an operation such as IDCA can come in with a bona fide, true quality team and process to do all the certifications and accreditations, etc., I think agencies and different levels of government will appreciate that.
IDCA brings digital economies the trust factor. We certify the environments. It's so much that we're focused on or building this IT infrastructure, but we're actually building digitalization in a digital economy. And it needs to be based on some standards. It needs to be audited and certified for customers to understand what they're getting themselves into. Just simply trusting a cloud provider or a SaaS provider to do a promise that they're meeting all of the standards is not good enough. We need to have independent third parties reviewing these things so their customers can have the assurance that they're meeting the standard.
But you go back in the history of at least the U.S. government for the last 30, 40 years, there's always been this effort to downsize government. You reduce the number of feds to more contracts. And then all of a sudden, the government feels like we're not in charge, we're not running the show. So then you have what they call contractor conversions, and you convert those contractors into feds. And there's been this pendulum swing back and forth over the years. You look across the regional structure of the U.S. federal government, the 10 regions, which are generally the same regions across all agencies. And when they think consolidation, they're consolidating with their other agency components. They're not consolidating around the co-location of we're sitting in this building in Chicago, and why do we have so many data centers in this building? And that's changed over the years, and some of the work that the GSA has led to downsize a lot of that, and certainly the cloud conversion has affected that. So that leads to the question of who should be the government's cloud providers, and how many of them, what's the right mix of in-house versus commercial should they be using. And the same thing applies at the state and local level. I think there's more reason at the state and local level for more consolidation. But either whether that consolidation is horizontal across an organizational domain or is vertical across a business, up and down a business function, some way you need to figure out the maximum efficient ratio.
Competitors only care about the four walls and the infrastructure to support the four walls. But IDCA really goes well beyond that and uses the 7 layers of the infinity paradigm. And that's what I was really drawn to, because I really want to expose the cloud smart policy of application rationalization and really understanding what the true cost of each application is. And I think IDCA is very unique in that regard, that you map everything back to an application and not talk about just racks or servers or infrastructure to run the four walls. When you are engaged with an IDC member, you will quickly recognize this person is at the top of their field, offer extensive experience and proven track record in navigating the complexities of the digital infrastructure. They possess the deep knowledge necessary to make well-informed decisions across all facets, including the strategic planning, technology section, implementation, optimization, and ongoing management. Their expertise ensures that clients receive guidance grounded in best practices and industry insights, leading the robust, scalable, and efficient digital infrastructure solutions tailored to meet their specific needs and business objectives.
I am John Sullivan. We are IDCA.
I'm Tom Santucci, and we're IDCA.